My sister always bragged about her perfect marriage and how her husband treated her like a princess. When she showed up at my door at 3 a.m. with a black eye, I finally understood what kind of princess treatment she'd been receiving. My name's Rachel, 32, female, and I'll never forget the night my sister showed up at my apartment like a ghost. It was 3 a.m., rain still dripping off her hair, her breath coming in these uneven little gasps. And there it was, the black eye. It looked so wrong on her face, like someone had scribbled cruelty over a painting. You have to understand something about my sister, Melissa, 35. She's always been the golden one, the princess. Growing up, she was the straight A student, the homecoming queen, the one mom and dad bragged about to the neighbors. When she met Eric, her now husband, it only got worse. He was the supposed dream guy, handsome, ambitious, always pulling out chairs and buying flowers. The kind of man who made my own relationships look like sad knockoffs by comparison. Melissa would call me just to gush about him. Eric booked us a weekend in Napa, or Eric surprised me with diamond earrings just because. Every time it felt like she was rubbing it in. Meanwhile, I was single, working long shifts at the hospital, eating leftovers while she posted Instagram stories of her fairy tale life. And the way she talked to me about it, like I should be jealous. Like her marriage was proof she'd won. I'll admit it, sometimes I was jealous. Sometimes I resented how she never seemed to hit the same walls the rest of us did. But when I opened the door that night and saw her standing there with her eye swollen purple, a duffel bag hanging off her arm, I realized how much of it was a lie. She didn't say anything at first, just kind of collapsed onto my couch, clutching one of my throw pillows like a life raft. My stomach was twisting, trying to piece it together, but I couldn't even form the words. Finally, she whispered, "Please don't make me go back." That broke me. I brought her some ice and tried to keep my voice steady, but I couldn't stop shaking. I asked her what happened if Eric did this. She nodded once, quick and ashamed, and then it was like the dam burst. She started spilling everything, how the princess treatment had slowly turned into control, how he dictated what she wore, who she saw, even how much wine she could drink at dinner, how he'd poke at her with little jabs that left invisible bruises. And then, when she tried to stand up for herself, the jabs turned into fists. I just sat there, frozen, while my sister, the one who'd always made me feel small, looked like a child asking for safety. My chest was tight with rage and guilt. Rage at him. Guilt that I hadn't seen it sooner. That I'd been blinded by her bragging and my own resentment. And in that moment, I made myself a promise. Eric had no idea what kind of war he'd started. Melissa stayed curled up on my couch all morning like she was afraid the cushions might swallow her. I barely slept. Just kept watching her chest rise and fall, terrified she might bolt if I closed my eyes. When the sun finally broke through the blinds, it made her bruise look even worse. The swelling had spread, mottled purple and green, a crown of violence that no one could ignore. I tried to get her to eat something, scrambled eggs, toast, but she just pushed the plate away. "If I eat, I'll throw up," she whispered. Her voice was so small, so unlike the Melissa I knew, the one who would laugh too loud in restaurants, who would send back wine if it wasn't the right year, who used to throw her perfect life in my face without shame. I finally asked the question, clawing at my throat. "How long has he been doing this to you?" Her eyes darted to the window, like Eric might be standing out there. "Since the first year. Not often. Just when I pushed too far." She said it like it was her fault, like she believed it. That's when the memories started clicking into place. All the times Melissa canceled plans last minute because Eric wasn't feeling well. The sudden family trips where she wouldn't answer her phone. Even at holidays, how she'd hover near him, laughing too quickly at his jokes like she was reading a script. I'd mistaken her tight smile for smugness, when really it was fear. And still, she defended him. "He's not always like that, Rachel. He's good most of the time. He takes care of me." I wanted to scream. My sister, who had spent years lording her perfect life over me, was sitting in my apartment justifying the man who left fingerprints on her face. My chest was on fire, but I forced myself to stay calm. If I lashed out, she'd shut down. I told her I'd go with her to the police, that she could file a report, maybe get a restraining order. She shook her head so hard I thought she'd snap her neck. You don't understand. If I go to the police, he'll find me. He'll ruin me. He'll... She stopped, clutching her stomach like the words hurt. And that's when I realized Melissa wasn't just scared for herself. Melissa, I asked slowly, what exactly has he threatened? Her lips trembled. He said if I ever tried to leave, he'd tell everyone the truth about me, that I'm not who they think I am. He's got things, proof, stuff that could destroy me. I didn't know what she meant, affairs, secrets, lies, but I knew one thing. Eric wasn't just abusive, he was calculated. He had her cornered in a cage of shame. And I decided right then, if he wanted to play dirty, he hadn't met me yet. Don't forget to subscribe. Melissa wouldn't say what Eric had on her. Every time I pressed, she shut down, her whole body stiff like a door slamming shut. I didn't want to push too hard, not yet. But I could see the weight in her eyes. Whatever it was, she believed it would ruin her. I couldn't just sit around waiting for answers. So that afternoon, I told her I was running errands, but really, I drove straight to their house. I don't even know what I was thinking. Maybe I wanted proof. Maybe I wanted to see Eric with my own eyes without Melissa there. The drive was only 15 minutes, but my chest was pounding the whole way. Their house looked like something out of a magazine. Manicured lawn, perfect shutters, the stupid white picket fence. I'd rolled my eyes at it 100 times before. Now it felt like a stage set, a pretty mask over rot. Eric's car was in the driveway. I sat there for a good 5 minutes, my hands gripping the steering wheel, before I finally got out. He opened the door before I even rang the bell. Rachel, he said, like we were old friends bumping into each other at Starbucks. He was smiling, but his eyes were dead cold. What a surprise! I wanted to spit in his face, but I forced my voice to stay even. Melissa's with me. She's not coming back. For a split second, his smile slipped. Then he laughed. Oh, come on. She has her little tantrums now and then. She'll cool off. He leaned on the doorframe, so casual, like I was some kid he was humoring. I mean, what do you think you're doing here, Rachel? Playing hero? My stomach twisted. I could feel the rage bubbling up, but I wasn't stupid. I wasn't going to give him the satisfaction of seeing me snap. She's not safe with you. You put your hands on her. That did it. His face changed in an instant, like a mask cracking. He stepped closer, his voice dropping low. Careful what you say. You don't know the whole story. And then he smirked, like he was about to enjoy this. She tell you about the money, the pills, the little accident she covered up? No? Huh. Maybe she left out the parts where she's not the perfect little princess you think she is. My throat went dry. He was baiting me, dangling whatever truth he thought he owned. I told him I didn't care, that none of it excused what he'd done to her. But even as I turned to leave, his voice followed me down the steps. Walk away, Rachel. You don't want to get in the middle of this, unless you want your sister's dirty laundry aired for the whole damn world. I didn't look back. I couldn't. When I got home, Melissa was sitting at my kitchen table, twisting her hands together. The second she saw my face, she knew. You talked to him, she whispered. And that's when I realized, whatever Eric was holding over her, it wasn't just some empty threat. It was real. And Melissa was terrified of me knowing. Melissa didn't ask what Eric said. She didn't have to. The guilt was already written all over her face, like she'd been waiting for this moment. I sat down across from her, heart hammering. What is he talking about? Money? Pills? An accident? Her eyes filled instantly. Rachel, please don't make me say it. He'll destroy me if this gets out. That's when I snapped. Melissa, he already is destroying you. Look at yourself. You're hiding in my apartment with a bruise on your face because you're scared of him. How much worse does it have to get before you stop protecting him? She broke. The story came out in gasps and fragments. 2 years ago, she'd been at a work party. She'd had too much to drink. Eric had kept refilling her glass and insisted on driving home. On the way, she clipped a cyclist at an intersection. The man went flying but somehow survived with just a broken arm. Melissa panicked. She wanted to stop, but Eric, stone sober, grabbed the wheel and sped off. He told her if she ever said a word, he'd tell everyone she'd been the one driving. And because she'd had alcohol in her system, it would have been jail time, a ruined career, maybe even worse. Since then, Eric had been using it like a leash around her neck. Every time she resisted him, whether it was about money, friends, clothes, he'd remind her, "One phone call, Melissa, and you're done." By the time she finished, she was shaking so hard I had to wrap a blanket around her. And me, I felt sick, because I finally understood. Eric wasn't just violent, he was smart. He'd weaponized her shame and guilt, trapping her in a prison no one could see. And now, I was in it too. The next few days were hell. Eric didn't stay quiet. He started calling Melissa's phone non-stop, blocked numbers, unknown numbers, voicemail after voicemail. His tone would swing wildly, sweet, begging, then vicious, threatening. One night, he even came to my building. I knew because I found a single red rose shoved in my doorframe with a note. "Bring her home before she ruins both of you." My blood ran cold reading it. He wasn't just threatening Melissa anymore. He was coming for me too. That night, while Melissa cried herself to sleep on my couch, I sat awake at the kitchen table staring at that rose. And something inside me hardened. He thought he owned her. He thought he could scare me. He had no idea who he was dealing with. Don't forget to subscribe. Update. Wow. I didn't expect this to blow up the way it did. I posted in the middle of the night because I couldn't sleep and felt like I was going insane. Woke up to hundreds of comments, DMs, even a few people sharing their own stories. First off, thank you. Really? Melissa doesn't believe anyone would be on her side, but I've been reading some of your words out loud to her. She cried. In a good way, for once. Some of you told me to grab her and run, others said to get a lawyer, some of y'all went full burn his house down mode. Tempting, not gonna lie. But the comment that hit me hardest was this. Abusers count on silence. Shine light on him, and he loses power. That's been rattling around my head nonstop. Because Eric's whole grip on Melissa is built on secrecy. The blackmail, the hit and run, the constant threats, none of it works if people know. Here's the part I didn't share before. Last night, Eric left a voicemail that chilled me. He said, and I quote, "If she doesn't come home, I'll make sure her precious reputation is ashes. Don't think you'll escape either, Rachel. I'll take you down with her." So yeah, he's not just playing husband anymore. He's playing God. And something in me snapped. I don't care if I have to burn every bridge, call in every favor, or drag his skeletons out one by one. I'm done playing defense. Melissa's still terrified, but I've started digging. Eric thinks he's the only one who knows how to ruin a life. He has no idea he's about to find out what it feels like to have someone rip the mask off in public. This isn't just about protecting my sister anymore. It's about taking back her voice. Stay tuned, because I'm done hiding. The morning after I posted the update, I couldn't shake that rose from my mind. It felt like he'd marked me, like a wolf pissing on territory. But instead of fear, I felt a strange calm settle over me. Eric wanted a war in the shadows. Fine. I'd drag him into the light. I started with what he probably never thought I'd touch. His reputation. Eric wasn't just some random guy. He was a mid-level financial consultant at one of those firms that live and die by trustworthiness. His whole image, perfect husband, responsible provider, was currency. If clients thought he was shady, he'd be done. So I called in a favor. One of the ER nurses I work with, Jasmine, used to date a cop, still friendly. I asked her, off the record, how someone might quietly check old accident reports. She raised an eyebrow but didn't ask questions. A couple days later, she slid me a thin folder in the hospital break room. "Careful with this," she whispered. Inside was a police report. The cyclist Melissa had hit. Name, date, everything. And scribbled in the margin, driver fled scene, no witnesses, case unresolved. Eric was right about one thing. If this ever tied back to Melissa, it could wreck her life. But here's the thing. He was the one who'd driven away. His prints were all over the cover-up. He wasn't holding her secret. She was holding his. When I showed Melissa, she went pale. "Rachel, no. If he finds out," I cut her off. "He's terrified of exposure. That's why he's been keeping you under his thumb. If anyone should be scared, it's him. Melissa shook her head, muttering about how dangerous he could get. But I'd already decided. If Eric thought intimidation was power, I'd show him what real fear looked like. The next step was simple. Bait him. That night, I used Melissa's phone, finally charged after days of silence, and sent him a single text. Funny how much a police report can say when someone actually reads it. His reply came in less than a minute. First, "Where is she?" Then, "What the fuck do you think you're doing, Rachel?" Then, "If you go to the cops, I swear—" I didn't answer, just let him stew. At 11:37 p.m., the pounding started. My front door rattling on its hinges, Eric's voice booming through the hallway. "Rachel, open the damn door." Melissa clutched my arm, trembling. But I wasn't afraid, not this time. I walked to the door, pressed my forehead against the wood, and said loud enough for him to hear, "Step 1, Eric. Everyone's going to know exactly what kind of man you are." Silence. Then the sound of his fist slamming the door so hard a picture frame fell off my wall. And then, footsteps retreating. When I turned back, Melissa was staring at me, wide-eyed. "What are you doing?" she whispered. "Taking back our lives," I said. And I meant it. 2 days after Eric showed up at my apartment, the storm really hit. It started with Mom calling me at work. Her voice was sharp, panicked. "Rachel, what in God's name is going on? Eric just came here, to the house. He said Melissa's been hiding at your place. He said she's unstable, that she's been taking pills, stealing money, that she hit somebody with her car." My stomach dropped. He was doing it. Dragging her name through the mud before she could even breathe. "Mom," I said, gripping the phone so hard my knuckles cracked, "don't you dare believe him. He's twisting everything." But Mom hesitated. "He had documents, Rachel. Bank statements. A police report. He said Melissa could go to prison." I almost screamed right there in the supply closet. He was showing my ammo, except angled at her. Of course. He wanted to frame it like Melissa was the criminal, and he was the long-suffering husband trying to get her help. When I got home, Melissa was sitting on the couch staring at her phone. Dozens of missed calls from family, even some texts from cousins. "Is it true? Did you really leave the scene? Why didn't you just get help?" Eric had lit the fuse, and her world was cracking apart. That's when I knew my revenge couldn't just be about protecting Melissa. It had to be about exposing Eric so thoroughly no one could ever look at him the same again. I told her my plan. At first, she panicked. "Rachel, no, please. If you go after him, he'll come after you harder. You don't understand what he's capable of." But I did. I understood perfectly. And that's exactly why I wasn't backing down. So, I set the trap. Eric thrived on control. He wanted the narrative, Melissa the unstable addict, Eric the victim. Fine. I'd give him the stage he craved. But I'd make sure the mask slipped where everyone could see it. The opportunity came faster than I expected. Melissa's office had planned a big quarterly dinner, one of those work events with suits, speeches, and way too much wine. Eric had RSVP'd weeks ago as her supportive husband. Melissa begged me not to let him find her there. But that's when it clicked. That was the perfect place to break him. Public, professional, witnesses everywhere. I told her, "Let him think he's winning. Let him show up," her voice cracked. "And then what?" I didn't answer. Just squeezed her hand and said, "Then we take off the crown from the so-called king." Update 2. Okay, I honestly didn't expect the last post to blow up even more than the first. Some of y'all are wild. I've had DMs ranging from "move to Alaska with new names" to "girl, just hit him with your car and call it poetry." Noted, but probably illegal. A few of you caught something I didn't even realize I'd been doing. I've been telling this story like Eric is some kind of villain in a movie, like he's larger than life. And you're right. He's just a man. A pathetic, violent, manipulative man. And men like that only have as much power as we let them. That hit me hard. Because here's what's happening right now. Eric's not just threatening Melissa in private anymore. He's gone nuclear. He showed up at my parents' house waving paperwork and spinning his version of events. Now half the family thinks Melissa's some addict criminal, and he's the tragic husband trying to save her. Classic playbook. Smear the victim before she can speak. And Melissa, God, she's breaking under it. She's convinced everyone will hate her if they know the truth. I keep telling her, no, they'll hate him. So here's where I'm at. We've got one shot to blow this whole thing wide open. Melissa's work dinner is coming up, and Eric plans to strut in like the doting husband. He doesn't know I'll be there. He doesn't know I've got the police report. And he doesn't know I've got a few other things tucked away that he won't see coming. Somebody commented on my last post. The most dangerous thing you can do to a narcissist is show the world who they really are. Well, buckle up, because that's exactly what I'm about to do. The night of Melissa's company dinner, I swear I could feel the tension vibrating in my bones. She'd begged me not to come, terrified Eric would explode if he saw me, but I told her I wasn't leaving her to face him alone. The venue was one of those hotel ballrooms with two bright chandeliers and little circles of men in suits pretending they liked each other. Melissa clung to my arm until we spotted him. Eric was already there. Armani suit, glass of wine, that same smile he'd worn when he opened the door on me days ago. He looked untouchable, charming co-workers, shaking hands with Melissa's boss. And then he saw me. His jaw twitched just for a second before the mask slid back into place. He came over like we were all old friends. Rachel, Melissa. I was worried sick. His voice carried just loud enough for the people nearby to hear. Why don't we all sit down and talk like adults? My blood boiled, but I smiled sweetly. Sure, Eric, let's talk. I waited until dinner was served, until the polite chatter dulled and everyone was sipping wine. Then I stood up, holding the folder Jasmine had given me, the police report. My heart was hammering, but my voice didn't shake. Funny thing, I said, loud enough to cut through the room. Eric's been telling people my sister's unstable, that she's some criminal. But here's the actual report from the night he's been threatening her with. Every head turned. Eric froze, his hand tightening around his fork. This report, I continued, is from a hit and run 2 years ago. Melissa panicked, yes, but Eric was the one who kept driving. Eric was the one who decided not to stop. And Eric has been using it ever since to trap her, to beat her, to keep her silent. A collective gasp rippled across the tables. Melissa's boss actually put down his fork mid-bite. Eric shot to his feet, face red, eyes wild. That's a lie. She's crazy. Rachel's crazy. His voice cracked, and suddenly the smooth, perfect husband routine was gone. He slammed his fist on the table so hard glasses toppled, wine spilling across the linen. Sit down, Eric, I said evenly, before I let everyone hear the voicemails you left. I pulled my phone out, thumb hovering over play, and that was it. The mask shattered completely. He lunged across the table, actually trying to grab the folder out of my hand. People screamed, chairs scraped back. It took 2 men from Melissa's office to hold him back while he shouted, spit flying, "She's nothing without me. She's mine." Silence fell heavy after they dragged him toward the exit. Melissa sat frozen, pale as a ghost. Then, slowly, people started whispering. Not about her, but about him. His name, his behavior, his meltdown. Melissa's boss leaned toward her and said gently, "Do you need time off? Whatever support you need, we'll make it happen." And for the first time in years, my sister looked like she could breathe. I'd promised I'd take the crown off the so-called king. And watching Eric dragged out of that ballroom screaming like a madman, stripped of every ounce of control. God, it was sweeter than I ever imagined. The days after the dinner felt like walking out of a storm into sunlight you don't quite trust yet. Melissa barely left my apartment, but the difference was subtle and real. She could sleep without jerking awake at every sound. She could eat a meal without pushing it away. For the first time in years, she wasn't pretending. Eric, though, he was unraveling. Word spread fast. Someone had recorded his outburst on their phone, and within 48 hours it was floating around Melissa's office group chat. Him screaming about ownership, being dragged out while red-faced and unhinged. It didn't matter what lies he'd spun before. The video killed them all. Then the professional dominoes started falling. His firm put him on leave within the week. By the end of the month, his bio disappeared from their website. Clients don't exactly line up for financial advice from a man who assaults his wife in public. Family? Oh, that was delicious. The same aunts and cousins who had been whispering that Melissa was unstable were now calling her, apologizing, promising they had no idea. Melissa didn't say much. She just let them stew in their shame. Eric tried, of course. He sent flowers, voicemails full of tears, then rants, then tears again. We ignored them. Eventually, I blocked every number. He even parked outside my building once, just sitting in his car, staring up at the windows. But when I held my phone up like I was calling the cops, he drove off. He never came back. Melissa still carries scars. Healing isn't a straight line. You don't just erase years of control because the world saw his mask slip. She has nightmares, and some mornings she flinches at shadows. But she's also laughing again. Real laughter, not the brittle, rehearsed sound she used to use around him. Last week, she told me she's looking into counseling, maybe even moving into her own place. For the first time in years, she said quietly, I feel like I belong to myself again. And me? I've stopped wondering if I did the right thing. Watching Eric dragged out of that ballroom was satisfying, sure. But the real revenge wasn't that moment. It's every day after when Melissa wakes up without him. He wanted her to be his princess, but she's not. She's a survivor. And I'll be damned if anyone ever forgets it.